I'm Lieutenant Matt Johnson with the Spanish Fork City Police Department. I'm here at the Utah Valley Dispatch Center today, where we will be interviewing a dispatcher in regards to abandoned 911 calls that originate from pocket dials. We all love to stay connected in today's digital society, but sometimes we're connected and we don't even know it. Last year, for the year of 2013, Spanish Fork City police officers responded to 1,290 abandoned 911 calls due to pocket dial 911s. It's a serious public safety risk. The dispatchers have to verify whether the emergency call is an actual emergency call for assistance or if it's just a pocket dial 911 call. Officers are dispatched to the area if dispatchers cannot make contact where the call was originated from. Officers are dispatched to a residence or business or the general vicinity where the call originated from. It takes officers off the streets where they could be investigating crimes or doing some more proactive policing such as traffic enforcement. Today we'll be interviewing a dispatcher and she will advise the public on the proper procedures, what to do if you accidentally call 911. We're here at the Utah Valley Dispatch Center today, and present with me is April Robbins, a dispatch supervisor. We've never been here before, so April's going to fill us in on what sort of center this is and what sort of assistance they offer to the public. April, are you guys open 24/7?
We are here 24/7, 365. There's normally between 6 and 7 dispatchers on at any given time. We have 4 radio dispatchers, 2 call takers, and this is them.
What types of calls do you guys receive here at the dispatch center?
We receive anything from motorist assist, where people block their keys in their car, to abandoned 911s, to life and death emergencies, where we send police, fire, and medical.
Okay, abandoned 911 calls have been a big problem recently. Do you know how many calls you guys took last year for abandoned 911 calls?
In 2013, we took approximately 21,000 911 calls abandoned.
What do you guys consider to be abandoned 911 call?
An abandoned 911 is when the caller is either on the line, however they don't know they're on the line, or it has been disconnected before the caller has had a chance to speak with the dispatcher. And in that case, we have to send any kind of response, whether we think there's a kind of an emergency. There's always a police officer sent. We always attempt call back and try and get the information that's needed for the officers.
So if someone doesn't know they're on the line, does that basically occur, let's say with the cell phone, a pocket dial, or otherwise known as a butt dial? Does that happen quite often?
It happens quite a bit. We hear lots of background noise from cars, people singing, babies playing with phones. That's a big problem, where people hand their phone to their child and the child plays with it and then calls us. We do a lot of talking to toddlers.
Can you track where the abandoned 911 call is coming from with GPS through a cell phone?
Normally, yes. If it's what's called a phase 2, it comes with GPS coordinates, and that depends on your cell phone provider. If it does have GPS coordinates, we can send to a general area. It doesn't show us exactly where the call's coming from, but the officer has kind of an idea where it's coming from.
Now, as a phase 1 abandoned 911 call, is that when it just shows the cell phone tower address?
Yes, it'll show the tower closest to where that call's coming from.
And that will not give the exact GPS coordinates then of where the call originated from, correct?
No, in that case, on a phase 1, there's no way for us to find where that person's calling from.
Okay. So if I accidentally do call 911 through a pocket dial, what should I do as far as letting dispatch know if I was a citizen calling?
If you do call 911, stay on the line and answer the dispatcher's questions. They'll ask what the address is you're calling from, whether there's an emergency, your name, address, phone number, date of birth. Answer all those questions so the officers don't have to be sent.
Can someone get in trouble for accidentally dialing 911?
Typically, no. Most people only call maybe once or twice. Every now and again, you get somebody who has a daily phone call or every couple of hour phone call, and in that case, you may have to do something to remedy the problem, but normally, no, you're not in trouble.
Okay, so the citizens just need to stay on the line, answer your questions, and make you aware that it was just an accidental 911 call.
Exactly.
So if I'm a citizen and I'm accidentally dialing 911, what can I do to prevent that from occurring? Is there a certain thing I can do to my cell phone? Can I program it some way to prevent that from occurring?
The biggest thing you can do is lock your keypad when it's not in use. If you have it in a purse or in a pocket, make sure it's turned away from you, so when you're walking it doesn't push buttons. You can take the auto dial feature off of your phone and make sure that if you are letting kids play with the phone that the battery and the SIM card is removed, because even phones that do not have a service plan can still call 911.
So here at the 911 center, you do receive several 911 calls throughout the day. Of those 911 calls, how many of those are actually calls for emergency assistance?
I would say for abandoned 911 calls, 1 in 50 is an actual emergency.
So you're saying you would receive possibly 50 calls a day, and out of those calls, 1 is an actual emergency call for assistance.
Exactly, but on those 50 calls, we do have to send some kind of a response, whether it's a police officer who is going to be showing up at your door to tell you that you've called 911.
So if I accidentally call 911 and I refuse to stay on the line or answer my phone, if you guys call back, you send an officer to that location, correct?
We do.
Okay. So we want to take preventive measures and lock our phones and remove the speed dial from the phone and make sure that our children aren't playing with disconnected cell phones then, so that we don't want an officer coming to our house.
Yep, exactly.
So April, do you think it's more embarrassing to accidentally dial 911, or is it more embarrassing to have a police officer respond to your residence?
Well, I personally have had both, and it is way more embarrassing to have an officer show up at your house to tell you that you called 911.
Why is that? Do the neighbors question you on why a police officer is at your house?
They sure do.
Well, April, thanks for letting us come down to the dispatch center today and showing us what your job entails, and we're trying to educate the public
Oh,
so
we
that...
have a 911 call coming in now.
911, what's the address of the emergency? 911, hello.
Can you patch fire 4 with Ops 2? Valley copies into them, did you copy? And have them, once they're on scene, have them switch to Ops 2 to coordinate with. Sorry, once they're on scene, have them switch to fire 4.
What are you listening to?
Just sounds like a car radio. Somebody listening to music driving down the road.
So in this situation, we have to run the GPS coordinates on this abandoned 911 call, find an approximate location, enter a call for service, and dispatch a police officer.
You want me to listen?
Okay, there's was an example of a pocket dialed 911 call, and it just shows you the time and effort that the dispatch center as well as officers have to put into responding to pocket dial 911 calls. We're stressing the public to become familiarized with their phones, to lock their phones when they're not using them, to take the pre-programmed 911 calls off the phones, and assist your public service agencies with this. It's a public safety issue, and it's also an inconvenience to the dispatch center.
And just remember, every second an emergency dispatcher is on an abandoned 911 call, that's precious seconds taken away from a real-life emergency.
So April, if a pocket dial 911 call does come in, does that hinder your response in an actual 911 call? Would that delay you dispatching emergency services to that 911 call?
Yes, it does, because the call taker that takes that abandoned 911 call cannot move on to another call until they've determined whether there is an actual emergency.
So April, you have 9 dispatchers here in the center today. What are they all doing?
Well, let's go for a little walk and I'll show you. We have a call taking dispatcher at this console. We have a fire 2. This is the
We do.
dispatcher
We
for
send
the
fire and
north
medical for that
fire
location.
departments, anything north of Center Street in Provo. We have a north police dispatcher who talks to all of the police officers from the north end of the county. And a south channel dispatcher who dispatches for the south end of the county. We have another dispatcher who's working an ops channel for a special incident, and a dispatcher in training with her trainer. And then a fire channel for the south end of the county. So we have 2 main police channels, 2 fire channels, a service channel, and then the call takers.
911, what's the address of your emergency?
And we have Danny on a 911
Hello, are
call
you
now.
there? Is your mom home? Hi, can I talk to an adult? Is your mom home? Hi, this is 911.
Yeah, it sounds like we've had your little girl on the phone with us. She called. Okay, can I get the address that you were calling from?
And that's what happens when we have an open line 911 with a child. We have to either determine whether it's safe phase 2 and we can send by the GPS coordinates, or talk them into getting us their mom or dad.
This concludes our tour of the Utah Valley Dispatch Center, and I just wanted to thank April Robbins for taking the time today to educate us about abandoned 911 calls, pocket dials, and what we should do if we accidentally call 911.
Thank you.